And we're live. All right.
Hey.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another VanHack webinar. I'm Ilya, and today I'm very excited to be joined by Alla, who is a tech recruiter based in Amsterdam. She's going to be sharing all her tips and tricks and information about how you can impress people like her, what tech recruiters are thinking, and then also a little bit about Europe and her experience living over in Europe and the tech market there. So really excited to have you with us, Alla. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to share the knowledge, tips, and tricks, and hopefully we're going to have some interesting questions that we can cover today.
Definitely, yeah. So everyone who's here, hi. Before we get into the content and the questions, I just want to do a quick sound check. So Michael, Jeff, Ingo, Melatius, Mohan, hi, good to see you here. If you guys can just say in the chat that it's working and we're live and there's no technical issues, we'll dive right into it. Always a little bit of a delay on that, so just waiting 1 sec before we get the response. Sounds good. Thank you, Ryan. Hi, Ryan from Manila, in the Philippines. That's so cool. Hey, Rupal. Awesome. Okay, fantastic. David, Mars. Great. Okay, thanks everybody for helping with that. So Alla, before we jump into the content and the questions, please just give us a little bit of background on who you are, a little bit of career, maybe that 30-second pitch that we always ask the candidates to give.
Okay, yeah, so some pitches, really nice. Yeah, my name is Alla Pavlova, so I'm originally from Belarus, and for the last 7 years I work and live in the Netherlands, and I was lucky to work with really great companies, mostly startups, so I have some knowledge on the product companies, and the companies like Relief, Dot. I was the first recruiter at Viber, so that's, if anyone uses still Viber, please identify yourself if you want to. I also work with Riot Games, so there's some gamers in the chat, so let me know. It was an amazing experience. And currently I'm building the teams at Miro. Miro is a whiteboard tool that lots of companies are using right now, so really excited as well about this, how it goes with this product. And in the meantime, I also spent some time to build developers communities for Slack, and that actually helps me a lot to understand what are the hobbies, interests of engineers, and I'm here actually to help and to share experience. How do I see some of the things that could be different from recruiter perspective, and all my friends are developers, so I will be happy to see if some of the things that I've learned from you guys, you can learn from me.
That's awesome. Thanks, Alla. And one funny thing, my grandmother's last name is Pavlova, so maybe we're related back in the
That could be the thing. Okay, that's unexpected. That this actually like a surprise for me.
Yeah, long lost cousins. Cool.
Okay.
So I see some Miro users. Ryan, Andy is a Viber user. Andy's also married to a Belarusian, so there you go.
Wow.
Michael, mentioned my name too. Michael, what's up? Привет, Andy's saying. Nice. Здравствуйте, привет. Cool. So let's jump into it. Actually, I want to start off with Europe because I think that's something that a lot of VanHackers, I asked where people want to relocate to, and some people said I want to go to Canada, some people say I want to go to Europe, some people said I don't care where I go. But I personally, I live in Canada, but I used to live in Europe, and I loved living in Europe, and there's things that I really miss about Europe. And I think a lot of VanHackers have this misconception of, Europe isn't maybe as good, or there's some problems with Europe, like the language and things like that, that I really just want to clear up for everyone. So why should people consider Europe, maybe if they're not considering it, and what do you love about you living in Amsterdam, but what do you love about living both in Amsterdam and Europe in general?
Of course, yeah. Thank you so much. It's a great question, and of course, it's very individual because it depends what conditions you have when you're going to move, right? So, for example, if you have a family and kids, so you need to consider the country that's really friendly for your family, that your couple can find the job, and so your kids can go to school. In this case, for example, Netherlands is the top one country that allows people, English-speaking people, to really comfortably adopt. So there are lots of things. I still like at least 7 years here. I'm not proud, guys, but yeah, still don't speak Dutch freely. So because English is the language that we use everywhere. And so like the way how the child care system is organized here. So it's very something that you can adopt easily. And so in terms of the, experience, for the engineer, the variety of products is something that is super attractive. So I would say a lot of companies are trying to open their hubs in Europe just to see if it's going to work out. And if you up for very entrepreneurial, very product-driven environment, so Europe really has a nice hubs like Berlin, Dublin, and Amsterdam. So this is the cities that I would recommend definitely to consider. Before it was also like London is one of the really also like places where lots of companies are trying to attract developers. But another thing I would like to mention is the diversity. So it's something that I see a lot. So you will work in a team like no one speaks the same language. So that's amazing. Like, I mean, English is the common language, but the rest is very different. So that would be a very short answer, but I'm happy to follow up.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I think the diversity piece is really enriching and great. I also think that like there's so much going on, and Canada is kind of one country, and Europe is an entire continent. And I think sometimes people forget that it's like so many different things, and it's not just like you mentioned Berlin, London, Amsterdam, etc.
Dublin.
Yeah, Dublin, but there's so many other kind of little tech hubs around. I think people, like we've sent a lot of people to Malta. I think also Portugal is growing, Barcelona, Spain, like there's all these things. And I think also like it's not as hard as you think, right? Because there's like someone's asked about Germany. You do have to maybe have a friend who speaks German. Like I lived in Berlin for a year. I didn't speak a word of German, and it was totally fine. And I think that people shouldn't be nervous about that. And last thing I'll say about Europe is it's so much fun to travel there.
Yeah, it's in the way. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like I know it's COVID now, but it's compared to Canada, right? Canada, when you're living in Canada, for you to get to another city, it's a lot of money, a lot of time, and it's not even that nice. But if you're living in Amsterdam, you can go to anywhere. You're basically in the middle of Europe. And it costs you, what, 100 euros max on Ryanair or EasyJet, and takes 1 to maybe 3 hours max. So yeah, that's something that I really like, and have a little bit of FOMO there right now.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's also like from the perspective of how many different people you can meet. So that's very attractive.
Yeah, awesome. So it's both professionally and personally nice, and I just want to encourage all the VanHackers here who maybe haven't thought of living in Europe. There's a lot of great jobs in VanHack in Europe. There's a lot of great jobs in general in Europe for tech talent. So just keep an open mind with there. You never know. A lot of VanHackers that I know were kind of thinking Canada first, and then opened their mind to Europe, and now we're living in Germany for 3-4 years, or other countries like that. So awesome. Okay, so let's get now into the tech recruiting side of things, because I think that's that's the main expertise here that Al has. What maybe we can start kind of with the general like common interview stages. Like, what do you see when like what does a typical technical interview look like? And then we'll kind of maybe break it down and have more questions there.
Yeah. So just for those who are really considering to apply in Europe, I would suggest that just try. It's not that different as it seems to be, because of course it's a different markets, and so there are a little bit different rules on applications and regulations mostly. For example, like things what should be in CV, what should not be, but we can get there. But in terms of the interview process, is actually quite similar. Ilya, correct me if it's not. So yeah, usually you have a call with a recruiter, so it's like 15 or 30 minutes. It depends on the company policy, and then you get to the test assignments. It could be something online like a HackerRank or something else, or you could be invited for the technical interviews right away. Technical interviews usually live coding, or test assignment that you're taking home, or it could be algorithmic type of questions asked during the interview, and you have to demonstrate your skills as well. It's a little bit different from the live coding because it's interesting. Like every company describe live coding sessions differently, and in some companies, live coding is algorithmic type of questions that you're solving. In other companies, is the task that is created by the team. It's already kind of pre-created, and you just need to fill in some gaps in the code or like change something. So in my personal opinion, this is the live coding, but it varies in the companies. But what should you expect actually after you talk to the recruiters? They try to pre-screen your technical skills by either sending the test assignment that you do at home, or sending you the task from the HackerRank. And then when you complete that, so they are more confident that, okay, so great, you can go and have the face-to-face interview, for example, like a technical interview. That's usually 1 hour where you can meet the engineers from the team, and then it's going to be like interview with the product team, usually if it's a product company, or the project manager. So just to get to know what you're going to be busy with, what is the growth potential, future team lead interview, or like someone from who's going to manage you, and the executive part. So that's usually the main stages.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty similar to how it is. I think in any tech company, tech companies are kind of similar around the world. So I think that's pretty similar. Let's talk about them before the interview, because like maybe we can see like a lot of people here. Like I saw someone said that they get a lot of rejections, from companies. How can they even land the interview in the first place? Because I'm curious, actually, guys, like how many people here have already had international interviews, and how many people here have not had them yet but would like to have them? So just understand where people are at, because I'm guessing a lot of people haven't had a lot of interviews yet. So like what can people do, like, I guess, to stand out and get that interview, right? So how should their resume be, LinkedIn, GitHub, like what are the kind of main things that should be present, and how can they make sure? Before we were talking, you said spend 15 seconds on a resume, right? So 15 seconds to impress people like Alla. How do you do that?
No, I just want to be honest. When you work in a company with a high volume of applicants, that could be the case when you don't have a lot of time to assess every CV. Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
So, that's something that you probably understand if you're applying for companies like, I don't know, Google, Facebook. It's amazing recruitment teams in there, but you can imagine that they have so many applicants. And the things that I would personally advise you guys to look at is the first one, like how do you look for a job? So you, for example, know the company that you like. For example, I love Square Enix. Like, I'm a gamer, so I love this company. So I will look at the website. I will try to find the job that suits me. And the first thing that I will try to do, I will try to see if my profile fits what the company is looking for. So my first question to myself will be, am I going to be the right fit in terms of the experience? And if I feel like, okay, so there is a tech recruiter position there, so I'm going to try. When I'm working in my CV, I'm trying to cover all the assumptions that recruiter can use to reject your profile. What I mean by that, if it's in a job description it's only local candidates, like, for example, no visa, you can still try to apply. You can make an incredible, nice a cover letter, but it's most likely it's going to be rejected because the company, for example, is not a visa sponsor. So that's why they put it in there. Or, for example, you have 3 years of experience, but the company is requiring 5. So you have to make it to your advantage that you saw this requirement, and instead of like silently hoping that the CV will be accepted, try to maybe mention it somehow on your cover letter. But a company are reading cover letters, so that's true. So I saw hiring managers also reading them. So if you work on them, please know it will be read it for sure. And in regards to the tips for the CV, so a lot of it I've heard as well, like I had experience with American companies, and I saw that they quite a lot of them exclude photo from the CV. I would say if you apply for Europe, make it a little bit more casual. So you can actually find a nice template, put your CV there. And in Berlin, in Amsterdam, it's very nice to add hobbies. So to add a little bit of personal side so that people can connect with you. So that's my experience. That if your CV standing out in terms of it's neat, it's easy to read. If you make a very small letter, so it will be hard for me to read, but I will, of course, I will do that. But make it a little bit, let's say, easy to read the things that you describe about yourself. So the good structure. So it's usually your photo, your title, desired title or current title, and the way how to contact you, then the summary, and then you go with the companies and so the responsibilities that you have. I think important tip will be to add the link to your companies, because when you're applying from other countries, so sometimes these companies doesn't know the markets that you're coming from, and they can assume that it's not interesting or it's like a small company. So I would suggest to add the links or add a note like, hey, this is like a multinational company that has like big hubs and this and there. It will create some visibility in terms of your background. And I would also suggest to, if it's possible, try to be a little bit more focused on the things that is necessary for this job, and only put them in your CV, because it should be maximum 1 or 2 pages, right? So if it's a Java developer job, so it makes more sense to tell everything that you do, like did with Java, right? So other things could be listed as well. Maybe you played a little bit with Python, or like you like C++. So that's good to mention, but not overwhelm it so with the technologies, because then people have an impression that it's everything, but it's nothing is specific. So the CV could be rejected because it's too generic. And a recruiter, like usually technical recruiters, so we are not engineers ourselves. It's a shame. So I personally would love to be an engineer myself. So I think it will help me to do my job better. But you know that no non-technical person is going to be first who's going to look at your CV. So try to make it, let's say, easy to understand for the person who is not that technical as you are. For example, you can mention that you work with these libraries, with these technologies, and so what was the part of the project you worked? For example, you work on the core, so you build the tooling for developers. So, or for example, no, you were focusing on the UI part. So try to give an idea what were you working on. Because again, if it's too generic, it's hard to understand where you're going to fit, like is it a good fit or not. How do you understand that? From the job description, usually. Like you see what the company is looking for. So we usually mention everything we need, like a must-haves. But if you don't have this must-have that we're requiring, mention that on the cover letter. Hey, I saw that you need 5 years of experience. I have 3 years commercial experience and 2 years that I did my own pet projects. I'm happy to demonstrate my skills, etc. It's going to work. Actually, in most of the cases, when we see that people, it doesn't matter in which country it's happening, right? It's just a common sense. If you see the person put efforts, you're going to be very happy to help them. And it's about to be creative. So, for example, at Miro, I receive CVs on the board. So I'm open the board and I have like a mini game, and I need to like move stickers to find some things in there. It's fun, but I also understand that maybe it's sometimes it's too much for the person to do, and sometimes you're like you're good at other things. Then just make it simple, easy to read, very informative on your background, what type of companies you worked, and what are the things that you're interested. So your hobbies, right? So it's 1 or 2 pages. So that will be.
Yeah, that's really good advice. We have a VanHack resume template. I'm not sure if everyone has seen it. I'm going to share it right now here in the chat. Just one sec. Because we have a very simple template that everyone can use to create their resume. So just give me a sec to find it.
Yeah, sure. It is very important rule. Please send your CVs in the PDF. Guys, you don't have idea how it looks like when you send it in the doc or something else. It looks so bad in the system, most of the systems. I worked with Lever, Greenhouse, others. So it's like a good tone to have CV always in PDF.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So versus like a Google Doc, right? You mean?
Yes, yes, never Google Doc, because it's going to be sometimes, it's downloaded only the bullet points, but there is no text in it. You don't want to be rejected because the talent acquisition system is not accepting your CV, right? So, and some people like they apply through the website, and it's also a really better way like to do that, because when you do the easy apply, it's not the way, like it's not going to be that representative for you. So try to put the efforts in terms of like a cover letter, and sometimes also you can contact people who already work in this company. And as a recruiter, I think it's also a nice way to, like, you're a developer and another developer is working in this company, so just ask him or her like, how do you feel about working there? Maybe they can be even happy to recommend you in a way. So
yeah, that's actually a really good point. Let's come back to that. I just want to see some questions here in the chat. There are people asking Thiago and Abdullah about what ATS tools do you recommend to optimize your kind of keywords for your resume.
Yes, I probably will add some links later. So there is some like I think CV compilers that suggest some things. They're free tools, but to be honest, if you can find the stack of the company that they're working on, and if you look at the job description, so most of the time you will see the stack in there, right? So try to focus on the languages, libraries, frameworks, and the last is cloud. So the rest of the things, I think it's more like additional, right? So what I need to see if I'm looking for Java developer, I need to see Java and and I want to see which version. For example, our product is the Java 11, so I want to see if it's at least between 8 and 11. Then it's going to work for me. And I'm most of the time for the backend engineers, I would be interested to see the cloud technologies that worked on. For front ends, for me, it's also will be different approach. Like I would like to see how framework driven the person is. I hear more and more from other companies, from other recruiters, that companies are not looking for framework engineers. So they really prefer to have a front end who can work with Vue.js, with React, with Angular, rather than only like be specialized at something. And having the stronger skills on the plain JavaScript, that's going to be the big advantage for the candidate. And mentioning that this as the technologies in your CV is going to be very helpful, because it is true. Recruiters, I look for keywords, and of course I'm trying to get the context. What are the things that you worked on? I need to identify you, to place you in the company in some area. Like, is it going to be platform? Is it going to be, I don't know, a product team? What are the things you did before? That's going to make one of the teams better, like will bring value to one of the teams. So that's what I'm trying. And most of recruiters, I think, are doing that.
Yeah, that makes sense. One challenge though that happens is like you're trying to apply, and this is kind of like a different topic, but you're trying to apply for jobs, and it's a lot of work just to create like a specific resume for every single job. Like, how can people balance the time and effort to create the right CV for the right job, where they apply and they put all this effort into making the CV, and then they're going to get rejected, so it's kind of a waste of time. But then if they apply to many jobs, then maybe hopefully one of them. Like, what strategy do you recommend people take to actually balance the work and increase your chance of getting a resume, an interview? Sorry.
Yeah, of course. I would say chasing your dream job, that would be my first approach. Hey, go for the best companies you like, and try to create as customized approach as possible to put your motivation in there. And for if you're applying for many jobs because you really would like to find the company that is going to move you, and maybe you're going to leave them in a year or two or something. So usually what I see candidates are doing, so they having like a template, a generic one with all the experiences, and they just delete some of the technologies, replace some things with each other, and they do that for when they apply for many jobs, and it's fine. So as long as it's relevant, it's a, for example, it's a backend engineer position, and you are a backend engineer, your CV is generic backend engineer, so it's quite likely it's going to pass this screening, right? Because we also would it's hard to understand everything about the candidates without talking, right? So that's why CV should be so focused on the responsibilities that you've been fulfilling, on the achievements that you had, then it will get more chances to be invited for the interview. But yeah, for some companies, to put the efforts will be my best advice. Like if you're like a gamer and you like a particular company, you can always find the reason why you really would like to apply for this job, and to put it at least in your cover letter. But your CV could be still generic, but the cover letter will be different.
Yes, yeah, that's true. You mentioned something earlier I want to come back to, which is reaching out to developers who are working at the company and kind of connecting with them, asking what it's like to work there, and maybe getting a recommendation. Can you expand on that? Because that seems like a kind of an interesting, different strategy that many people don't try.
Of course. To be very honest, I do believe that everyone who's in the chat at least once never heard from recruiter. So I really feel that it's happening with me as well, because we have such a big volume to cover, and not always we can reply to you if you have additional questions. Sometimes people apply and then they ask like, hey, on LinkedIn, for example, hey, I just applied, what do you think about my CV, etc. When you go to another engineer, so you create a little bit different relationships. You're asking the person who is already in there, and so you make yourself you make for this person the opportunity to hire someone to the company, and to learn from this person why this person is happy in the company. And then when my engineer from another team is asking me, hey Alla, I just have an interesting conversation with some candidate reach out to me on network, could you please interview him? So you're kind of passing the screening part already if another engineer recommending you. And I think it's a very good approach as well, because you can ask specific questions like, hey, I've been working with these technologies. Do you think it's going to be helpful for your company? And the engineer can definitely tell you like, yeah, this is going to be great. So let's apply. And most of the companies have referral systems, right? So programs. So they will be happy to get a bonus if they recommend the person from the network. Even if they don't know the person, they still can get a quick chat or get a CV. So I would say the response rates when the engineers trying to hire another engineers is much higher when I as a recruiter trying to hire an engineer. So the same I've noticed when the engineers reach out to each other, and then their CV just ended up in my email. That's actually giving a lot of nice chances to the candidate.
Nice. Yeah, that's so true. Like, probably the majority of people who get hired at companies are referred by someone internally. So if you can, especially like for the companies that you really, really are passionate about, maybe you find a developer who's from your country or works with a specific language that you work on, or you have something in common with them, and then reach out to them. And I think, it's most people probably will be open to at least have a quick chat, and you never know where it'll lead. So that's awesome advice. Cool. So let's say you get the interview, and let's talk about that first interview, because I think a lot of people fail in this one. And then we'll talk maybe like first behavioral interview, and then we'll talk about technical interview. What tips do you have for people, or for the developers or candidates on our platform, on the webinar here, for them to really nail that first interview? Usually it's a 30-minute phone screen with HR, right? So how can they impress that person to then move to the next step?
Yeah, sure. So you have to first pay attention. If it's 15 or 30 minutes, then you can adjust your let's say speech about yourself, because 15 minutes is really like it's a very short screen. I think we should not do that for 15 minutes. So it should be longer. So it's not enough to assess the skills. But it's my personal opinion. 30 minutes. So what do you need to prepare? So some candidates are actually coming back to me and asking additional information for the preparation, and I think it's a good thing to do. So you can ask, hey, is there anything I can prepare? So most of the time you will be said like no, but in sometimes you can be given with them, for example, Emira, we give the huge board where the all information about the Emira, when it was founded, how many people, what is the social package, some of the things that can be already covered. So at this 30 minutes, I don't want to spend a lot of time on some things that you can find in the internet about the company, right? So usually we have some kind of structure for these interviews. So And somewhere in the middle, you can actually, in the middle of this interview, you can feel if the things are going good or not, and you can readjust your strategy based on this feeling. So I'm going to share with you. So for example, yes. So usually it's like 2 minutes to start the conversation. Oh, by the way, before that, double check if you have a link and try the tool at Zoom or Google Meet. Be sure that the camera is working, the microphone is working, because it's also like creating some kind of, altogether could create a wrong impression about you. So always check the tools, always check if you have a link. So because sometimes microphone is not working and they can't hear the person and they have to reschedule. So this kind of things are there that you just don't want to have it, right? So yeah, that's common sense, right? Check all the tools, and then when you were actually on a call. So it's hard for developers, I know, but try to feel a little bit relaxed, like ask like how are you doing, and look how big is the introduction of the recruiter. So usually they say, hey, my name is Alla, I'm a recruiter at Miro, I'm working with Miro that long, and thank you for your time, let's talk about this role. And then the recruiter usually asks you to introduce yourself. Have this prepared always, like, hey, my name is, yeah, and like, and practice it for like, it should be 1 minute. So usually one of the things that candidates often rejected after the first screening because they went too much into the technical details. So the person just didn't understand. The person went also like too long about experience. Sometimes I feel like candidates jumping too fast into talking about the experience. Don't do that. Like, relax. It's an interview, but you're also choosing the company. So you want to understand if it's a great place for you as a great engineer to be there, right? So try to introduce yourself. Try to listen the questions, because that's important. So if the recruiter is chit chatting with you, like, don't jump straight away to the experience. That would be one thing that I often see. And what are the other things? Try to focus on the things that are really as a must-have for this role. If you ask, like, hey, tell me a little bit more about this company, again, like, it should be like 30-40 seconds, 1 minute. Hey, that was a big team, that was a product team, I manage people. Be concrete as well with your role. Don't say we a lot as well, because you can mention that it was a team, but most of the time recruiter is trying to identify what you did in this particular company. So we will not think that you are not a team player. But if you constantly will say we, so we will not be able to identify what were your role on this project. So we want you to be specific. Like, if you manage people, be concrete. You directly manage them. If we worked for vendors, so also try to be also honest. Like, hey, I didn't work for this company directly because it was a vendor, so we did this and that. Because the main goal of this screening is to quickly understand if you are the fit, and then you get to the real interview with the engineers, and then you can get to demonstrate your skills. So basically try to help the recruiter to understand that the role that you applied is something that you can do as a job. So that's yeah, the ice breaking is usually the hardest part, and having a plan, like what you're going to tell about yourself, what you're going to tell about the companies you work for. Try to make it very short, and somewhere, if you, for example, if at the beginning recruiter were asking you a lot of questions, and then you see it's slowing down and it's only 15 minutes, something is wrong. Be also like open and say, hey, what is the ideal candidate for this role? Try to fish the information from the recruiter, like what he is looking for exactly. So it's okay to ask this question. So actually, it also gives me the idea that you care what could be important for the team. So and it actually could influence on the process a little bit more. So because if the recruiter is like slowing down with the questions and mostly like making the notes and stopping asking you concrete questions, so it's either like and you can see also the reaction, like, so you can see maybe sometimes it's enthusiasm is slowing down, but it depends, of course, on the person. But if you have this feeling, try to ask the questions about the ideal role and try to make examples that of something that recruiter is asking you, like, hey, did you work with this type of did you work with this framework? No, but I work with that framework. That actually is something. So try to give this explanation, because it's not a technical person. You can be basically rejected for no reason because someone don't understand the technologies, right? So for that, try to provide some additional context. And one advice I will also give to everyone is that if you felt that your interview was not good enough in terms of your skills were not assessed properly, it's absolutely okay to go to someone else in this company, another like recruiter and better the manager, and to ask like, hey, I just had a screening, it didn't go well, but I think I can bring something on this table. So can I have another chance? Can I talk to you? So especially your dream job, right? So I think it's absolutely some people are doing that, and I saw a positive response on that because you're trying another chances. Like if it didn't work out, and you feel like it is a problem on the company side that you were not assessed properly.
Yeah, that's cool. Like asking for a second chance, and sometimes companies do give that. That's a good point. One thing that I want to stress is this talking too much in the beginning. I've done a lot of kind of interview preparation, and by the way, guys, if you want to help with your interview preparation, we have a course for that. VanHack Academy with VanHack, but we still have the old URL, vanhack.com/premium. Check it out if you want. Anyway, so we have seen a lot of people just talk and give their entire life story. It's like, so tell me about yourself. Well, I was born in this city, and then when I was 5, I moved to this city, and then when I was, this, and then I learned to code, and then I did this programming language, that programming language. So it's much better just to say like, hi, my name is Joe. I'm a senior Ruby developer with 10 years experience. I work with X technologies, and really focus on the technical, like say more than that, but just for people to understand, it's not your entire life story or your entire career. It's a high-level overview of who you are, and it's always better to be shorter than longer, because the company can always ask you to explain a little bit more and dive deeper into topics. Whereas if you talk too much and talk about things that aren't relevant, the company will see you as unfocused and ineffective in communicating. So just a really, really good tip there I want to underscore. Okay, so let's say you make it past this this behavioral interview, and now you're doing the technical interview. And I think this is probably the meat, right? This is probably the main one, because if you can impress the other developers on the team, then your chances of getting hired are very high. So what tips you have for people to prepare for the technical interview and really nail that part of the process?
Yes, so the best advice I would give, try to get the information, what is expected from you, what is going to happen. Because if the recruiter just given you, it's going to be technical interview, don't go with it. So ask what is going to be there. So is it going to be a special task? Is it going to be what are the things you need to install on your computer? Because if the company is going to ask you to share the screen, or you need to use some pre-installed things, so just make sure that the company is giving you the information what is going to be there, and then you can prepare. So you can try a lead code. I think it's free. Like you can test your skills, and you can look at it's other like assignments that practice online. GitHub is full of assignments that were done by someone in these companies. Like, I know that engineers, when they get the assignment, I think the first thing they're going to check the GitHub and see if anyone did this assignment before. So yeah, the best is to know what exactly is going to be there, and then prepare. So that would be my best tip. It's a short tip because, of course, I'm not specialized in the technical interviews myself, but I do see that the challenge, how you're going to be assessed, like are you senior? Are you not senior? So there's a lot of conversations are happening between recruiters and hiring managers, how to identify if the person is a senior engineer or not. And yeah, I don't have a good answer for that in terms of the still companies are really discussing that, and so it could be very subjective. And I think it's also important to understand interviews are subjective, and we do have our bias, and we do have the way how we used to conduct the interviews. And so for the international candidates, it's something that is not always things that you're used to, right? That's why just look at the task that you're expected to complete, and also think is it a good way to assess your skills? Because some engineers, they say, I'm not going to do assignment. I'm sorry. I don't think it's going to be a good way to assess my skills. So, and sometimes companies are changing the ways how they're going to assess, because you don't want to do that because you have a good reasoning why it's not a good way. And don't be afraid to say like, I'm sorry, is there any other ways we can do that? Because I think that I could demonstrate my skills better if I do the live coding. Some people I really don't like live coding because then they're on like their own spot and they have to generate ideas. People are different. I, for example, like to think a little bit before I'm gonna say something, but when I'm sports, so I can say different things. I can be nervous, etc. So that's important to maybe sometimes to ask the questions like, if there any other way.
That's really interesting. I've never heard that advice before, where a candidate can, at least ask. You can always, get the, doesn't hurt. You always get to say, no, you can't do another way, and you do the way that you would have done anyway. So there's no downside, no risk. And I think it also shows that you're kind of more thoughtful and know yourself. And I think that also probably will be a positive. I think generally the advice of asking questions in general is a very, very good piece of advice, because you always want to ask questions about the company. You always want to ask questions about the process, ask questions about the city where you want to move to. The more questions you ask, the smarter it makes you look, because it shows that you're curious and you care, and you're not just kind of doing this because it's a fun thing to do, but you're actually really, really committed and serious, and you want to make sure you're finding the right job for you. And that's another point I want to touch on quickly is you mentioned something kind of quick, like offhand, and I think it's important to say, where you said, oh, maybe a company will just relocate you when you leave there after 1 or 2 years. And that's something we really talk about in VanHack, is not what you want to do. You want to find a job that will be a great job for you, and it happens to offer relocation. Not a job that offers relocation that you're just doing because you want to move out of where you are. And that, because that's going to be a bad scenario at the end, both for you and for the company, because you're going to spend maybe 1 year there and you're not going to be happy, and you're going to try and leave and find something else. And anyway, so can we talk a little bit about that, like looking for that dream job versus just looking for any job and is that something that you as a recruiter, you can kind of sniff and feel, during the interview, like, this candidate is not interested in my company, they just want to move to Amsterdam, right? Is that something you can tell, right?
Yeah, sometimes I can tell, but I also think like I've met a lot of candidates like that. So they were just the main motivation was not the company, but the relocation. And I see, this is my job as a recruiter to motivate you, to make this job interesting for you if I'm interested as well. Like I see it's a great engineer, just looking for relocation. And usually, like when you look for relocation, you're sometimes ready to step back. For example, you're a team leader or CTO, and you're applying for the jobs that are for the for the developers, like hands-on job. It's fine. It's actually something that I used to see. And when I have the calls with this developers, and I'm asking them their motivation, they're saying that they would like to relocate and they're open to start over from the developer position and then move to the management position. So happen a lot, so we can discuss that, but it's something that you don't need to worry if you think that you're overqualified, but do mention that you see that the role is not management, but you are ready to step forward, to step back, and then to make the step forward. Sorry, coming back to your question. So I do see that sometimes people are just relocating, and I'm not sure like if the person is going to stay alone. And I will try to motivate this person to explain why this company actually could be his next or her next like 5 years anniversary company. But also like I want to see if the person tried the product or the service that we are providing. So it's a must-have for me. If I ask on the interview the question like, "Hey, have you tried Miro?" and if I hear like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't have time," it will disappoint me, to be honest, because I mean, it's a minimum effort you can make before the interview, right? And it should be done for sure. And that's to get motivated probably during the interview process is something that you can still influence. There were cases in my career where like we rejected the candidate at the final stage because motivation was just relocation. It happened. So I would say you can see if it's not the dream job that you're applying for based on your CV, cover letter, efforts to the interview, yeah, maybe you're applying, maybe you have like different offers in your hands at the same time. You're choosing between three companies who are going to relocate you. It's a tough case for the company as well, but it could happen. And so you have to be careful. Like, don't like take a lot of time to think. Like, try to 3-4 days. This is something that is acceptable. If it's longer, so all the companies started to be nervous and actually disappointed.
Yeah. So many good things to talk about right there. Yeah. I guess, yeah, so I put here in the chat very loud on purpose with caps lock, sign up for the company product. VanHack, actually, we rejected a candidate, not a developer, but someone from a recruiter actually position who didn't sign up to VanHack.
Oh, that's such a shame. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, recently, like the person was actually interviewing to be the manager of our recruiting team, and they completely they just didn't even sign up to the product, and they said, oh, I'm busy, whatever. But it takes 10 seconds, right, to go to a website, click log in with LinkedIn and sign up. Maybe, go through the process. So I know some products you can't sign up for, like some products are like very much like a B2B or like government or something like, or just go to the website then and read as much about the website as the company as possible. And another thing that I always look for is people knowing the values of my company. Like if people don't know the VanHack values, by the way, guys, I'm curious I'm going to ask everyone this, which one of our VanHack values is your favorite? I'm curious if anyone knows the VanHack values or has read them. Hint, they're on our about page. Yeah, so it's so important, and it shows, right? It's a thermometer or barometer, or like a measurement of how well you've done your homework or research, and also asking questions at the end of the interview, both the behavioral and the technical. Every interview, if you don't have any questions, even if they're silly small questions, then it's like, well, I don't know, it's almost generic, it's almost formulaic. I mean, and yes, we're always looking for recruiters. If you know any good recruiters, we're always hiring recruiters. Respect and equality are not some of our values. Those are things that, of course, we need to
empathy.
have.
It should be empathy. It should be empathy. Yes.
No, VanHack, we have kind of more specific ones. Yeah. So anyway. Which product are you talking about? A company can have a ton of products in the market. Well, any of them. Sign up for one. Sign up for, like, if you see a company
Spotify,
sign up for one of their products, like Google. Yeah, Google has a lot of products. Well, do you use Gmail? Do you use Google Docs? Like, do you use Google Search? Which one of them do you like? Try some. Anyway, okay. I think I'll get off my soapbox because it's such an easy thing to do. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's very important. It can actually ruin everything for you. And I think you're actually approaching a very important topic that's about the company values. So you will be definitely asked in a way like what do you like about us? And so you will have to be ready for this question. So to think like, what are the things that you like? You can watch demos. You can read the blogs. It was very nice advice from someone in the chat, because there are lots of companies, they have the engineer blogs, and some people actually, this is the way how they learn about the company. They read the blog and then they apply. So it's actually a very nice connected story. So, but about the values, I was once asked by a recruiter as well in the interview, like, do I think if feedback is important? Like, because it was one of the values. And come on, what type of a question it is? Of course it's important. I could be frustrated even myself to answer this question. So if you get in the situation when you ask about something like that, so just try to get the best answer with like what you personally think. But I personally don't think it's a good question to ask like that. Of course, feedback is important.
Yeah. I guess it's just the context of the position or of the question in the interview. Yeah, sweet. So okay, let's. We have 5 minutes actually only, and I only have a hard stop at the end of the hour. So let's actually open the floor here to everybody to hear what questions you guys have. So John, John talking about reading the blog for sure. Ivana, nice. Let's see, series salaries. Oh, that's you, Alla.
Oh, it's me. Yeah, actually, guys, I sent you a couple of links. Yeah, so this I think you can look into. So this is like because I'm really specialized in the Netherlands, so you can see how these salaries are assessed, and there are some things like 30% ruling. So this is very nice. It's you kind of expect it also to look into the regulations yourself, because recruiter can't explain you everything. What is the Canadian migrant visa, like high skilled migrant visa? What is the 30% ruling, etc. So when you look at the Europe, so try to make a minimum research, and especially in the salary as well, because to set the expectations, I have a feeling that everyone who's applying from Canada, they have like 6-digit salaries. So it's not always the case, you know, for the developer role in Europe, because of some of these things like cost of living, etc., is lower. So you kind of need to look what is in the market, because then to have proper conversations in terms of salary.
Yeah. And then also,
Sorry.
like, no, of course, in euro, you know, you have to do the conversion rates. Like 60,000 euros is 100,000 Canadian dollars, so it's kind of around this model. So yeah, chance of Golang developer being hired in Europe is very good. There's a lot of Golang developer jobs. Yeah.
Yes. I need to find.
We're actually looking for Golang developers for a job in Canada, actually, but yeah. And maybe in Europe too. By the way, has everyone here applied to jobs on VanHack? Just if you haven't, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, exactly.
Jobs all the time. Jan has a specific question. Interview with VanHack recruiter. We're shortlisted. Now, should I expect the company to get in touch with me? Yes, the company will book an interview with you if they like your profile. If not, then they'll unfortunately reject you. But yeah, sweet. What are the requirements for recruiters, experienced manager, hospitality training? Andy, well, we have a recruiter job on VanHack, so just go there and you can see all the information there. Yeah, Mars, keep trying, even if you're rejected. You know, it's a long game. A lot of people spend 6 months, 1 year to get hired, and it's worth the investment, right? You change your entire life, right? Sunil applied to 20. Yeah, keep going. I know it's sometimes it can feel a little bit frustrating, but yeah, yesterday we had 3 VanHackers get job offers. So people get hired all the time. Yeah, over 1,000 now, almost 1,100.
But sorry, may I anticipate on this one? Like, if the person applied 20 times and only 1 replies, so please have a look at your profile. Something is wrong. So 20 rejections, it tells me something is not working out, or either the job title, either the experience, or maybe, you know, the companies are not able to provide visa. So that's also the case why the people can reject it. So please change something. So you have to look, even if you don't know what were the reasons, because it's a bulk rejection, right? So you have no idea why. Change your CV, get the templates, add something, remove something, experiment with it. So, but continue like that is going to be a mistake, because you need to change something. It's just, I couldn't skip this question, sorry.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There's a lot of times where, yeah, you're getting rejection. You need to think about your profile, your resume, and what you need to improve. And we have a lot of content on VanHack, like about how to create an awesome resume. You guys have all seen our VanHack courses. If you haven't, just go here. There's a ton of free content talking about how to improve your profile, get hired, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah. Namrata, are you the Namrata who got hired recently? There was a person named Namrata who got hired at a US company through VanHack last week, so I'm not sure if it was you or not, or maybe someone with the same name. Cool. Does VanHack recruiters review every profile? No, we don't. So we have a matching algorithm in VanHack that shows the people who have the top kind of match with the job. Of course, it's not a perfect algorithm, and some of them are But what we do is, like, we basically check if you have the skills, do you have the main skills that the company is requiring? Like, if you're a Java developer and you apply for a Ruby on Rails position, we're not going to review your profile. We're just going to auto reject you. But if you do have the skills, then we'll review your profile and kind of dig deeper. Just because, you know, sometimes we have so many people applying, and we also have to balance the time. Speaking of time, we have 1 minute left, so this is pretty much the end here. I just want to say thank you so much, Alla, for being here with us. Bedank, spasibo большое.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Oh yeah, that is Namrata who got hired last week. Hey Namrata, awesome.
Yay!
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, congrats Namrata. She's working for a tech company in Chicago, remotely from India, and yeah, congratulations and good luck with your new role. Again, guys, apply. If you haven't been verified, that's another thing. Make sure you verify your English in VanHack. Make sure you apply for jobs, take the coding test, be active in our Slack community, all those things. And yeah, Alla, how can people reach out to you? I'm sure that people have questions. Should they add you on LinkedIn, follow you on Twitter?
LinkedIn would be nice. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, thank you. I will send a link probably.
Yeah, just please share right now in the chat, because otherwise, you know, we have to email it to everybody. So I'm having a hard in Spanish. Yeah, please, Andy, please mention VanHack. We have a referral program, by the way. If you guys have any friends who want to get hired abroad, we have a referral program. Here, I'm going to broadcast Alla's LinkedIn. Alla, you're going to get like 50 or more LinkedIn requests right now. Get ready.
No worries, guys. I'm happy to help. Maybe we need to make one more webinar. So tell us if you need one more. So we will do that.
Yeah, we'll have a follow-up series. Yeah, awesome, cool. Alla, you and I definitely need to connect after. I'll shoot you an email. But yeah, thanks so much. Enjoy the evening there in Amsterdam. And yeah, thank you.
Enjoy the day. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.